there's a Wooster Rotary emblem things that we handed out at the meeting. So if you did not get one of those, they're at the table in the back for you as well. All right, so your little bit of history lesson for today was October 11th, 1984, Cathann Sullivan was the first woman to perform a spacewalk from the Space Shuttle Challenger. So I thought that was my interesting fact for today. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Secretary Lynn and the Secretary.
Thank you, President Terry. No traveling microphone today. All of the guests will be introduced from the podium. And Dr. Boone, I'd like to introduce our first guest.
Thank you, Secretary Lynn. I'd like to introduce Dr. Ann Dorrance. She is, please stand, Ann. She is our Associate Dean and Director of the Wooster campus of the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences.
And I'm pleased to have two guests. First, Dr. Heather Howley. She is the Director of Regional Campuses at University of Akron, which does include Wayne College. So welcome, Heather. And Tracy Carmody, she's a former Wooster Rotarian, back to visit us after only 4 months. So welcome. Frank Relly has an announcement. While Frank is coming to the podium, I would like to let you know Family of Rotary does include our cooks. And Brian Helms, he's 25 years old. He's the father of one daughter, and he's the son of Sherry, one of our cooks. He, on Sunday, was in a bad ATV accident. He is in Akron ICU trauma center. So let's keep him and Sherry and their family in their thoughts and prayers. And on a better note, Abby Bennett, she's the youngest one of our cooks. It's her 19th birthday today. So as you go out, wish her a happy birthday.
Our annual Veterans Day recognition meeting will be on Monday, November 8th, to honor their service. As is our tradition, we would like to include our Rotary veteran names and our names of Rotary family members who are veterans in our annual program bulletin. For those of you in attendance today, please find a green sheet on your table, which lists the information about you or your family service. Please review it and update it as needed, and I'll pick up those sheets after the meeting. For those of you not in attendance via Zoom, I will email you a copy for you to review and update. Also, I encourage you to invite any non-Rotarian veterans to be our guests at this annual luncheon meeting on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank, for that announcement. I know that that event takes a lot of organization, and we appreciate your efforts, Frank, in putting that together. Welcome to all of our guests. I hope that you enjoy the Fellowship of Wooster Rotary and enjoy our program today, and we hope to see you back at some point in the future. With that, I am going to turn it over to Kim Sailors, who will introduce our speaker today.
Dr. Cathann Kress serves as Vice President for Agricultural Administration and Dean of the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences at The Ohio State University, a role she's held since May 2017. Dean Kress has responsibility for leadership of the college, which also encompasses OSU Extension, the statewide Agricultural Experiment Station, what many of you probably know as the Ohio Agricultural Research and Development Center, and the Agricultural Technical Institute in Wooster. She is also a full professor within the Department of Agricultural Communication, Education, and Leadership. Dean Kress previously served as a vice president for extension and outreach at Iowa State University, overseeing the 99-county campus network for research and education, and as a full professor in the School of Education. Prior to her tenure with Iowa State, she was senior policy analyst for military, community, and family policy in the Department of Defense, leading national efforts to engage land grant universities in support of military service members and their families. Dean Kress also served as assistant professor in the Department of Educational Leadership at Miami University, In addition, she previously served as an academic counselor with the Women's Athletic Department at the University of Iowa. Dr. Kress is a trustee of the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. She serves on the State of Ohio Livestock Care Standards Board, the Ohio Expositions Commission, the Council for Agricultural Science and Technology Board of Trustees, Ronald McDonald House Charities of Central Ohio Board of Trustees, and previously served on the National 4-H Council Board. Dean Kress graduated with distinction from Iowa State University, where she received her bachelor's degree. She received her master's and doctorate from the University of Iowa, where she was an American College Testing Special Research Fellow. All of that and much more. Please join me. Let's give Dr. Cathann Kress a warm Rotary welcome.
Well, thank you. That was a very kind introduction, and I feel right at home up here on the podium. I wonder why. I'm surrounded by some of our staff, and it's wonderful to see them engaged in their community in this way, because all of us in the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences really do everything in partnership and think about that everything we do should be in and among. I think that's a great mark of a good land-grant university and a good land-grant college, so it's good to see. So, hello, it's nice to see you all and to be up here in Wooster. I have the real privilege of representing about 400 faculty, about 1,400 staff, 3,700 students, 45,000 alumni, 47,000 animals, 88 counties, about 1.5 million extension participants, and 12,000 acres that all make up the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences at the Ohio State University. We're one college, but we have a presence, as you can see, with our multiple components all across the state. But everything you see is united in just one purpose. All of us, no matter where we are, no matter what we do, our purpose is that we sustain life. And so we have our 3 campuses, the Columbus campus, CFAES Wooster, and then of course statewide. And what a lot of people don't know is that our faculty and staff are divided evenly among those 3 campuses. So same number of faculty and staff in our Columbus campus, in our CFAES Wooster campus, and in our statewide campus, serving throughout the state. As Kim mentioned, our college includes a whole lot of different pieces and parts that oftentimes are familiar to people, but they don't recognize that they all go together. 4-H, Master Gardeners, multiple academic units, including our School of the Environment and Natural Resources, research stations throughout the state. And within our college, we have over 100 unique centers, institutes, and programs that support a breadth of work around food and food systems, a wide range of agricultural production, environmental and ecosystem sustainability, policy, economics, and health. And in fact, our economics department over the weekend just got news that they are now ranked #1 in the nation. So we're very proud of their accomplishments. We are committed to scholarship across 3 major mission areas that we work in. Most people are familiar with the research side of things and the teaching, but our 3rd area is, of course, our extension work. And we talk about all 3 of those. Research, teaching, and extension are an important part of how we deliver on our mission as a land-grant university. In this particular graphic, you can see what a lot of people think of as our students are those 2 circles in the middle, the undergraduates and the graduate students. But we actually have a much broader reach when you consider the young people that we reach with 4-H and our lifelong learners that we reach with the rest of our extension programs. And what a lot of people don't know is that many of those individuals stay with us for 10 years or more. Many of our 4-Hers, for example, start with us when they're about 9 years old, and they're still with us as they're heading off to college. So that's quite an impact that our educational programs can have with them. We are also part of what can seem like a really old discipline to people. You know, after all, we've been around a long time. In fact, The Ohio State University started out as Ohio A&M, Agricultural and Mechanical, when it began 150 years ago. And so I like to point out to our new president that we are the cornerstone college of The Ohio State University. And that's absolutely true, because not just that our university started out with us, but because almost everything that they try to do at a comprehensive university connects back to the work that we do in our college. What I like to remind people of is what it is in its essence that we do. And it's really pretty simple, especially on a day like today when the sun is shining so bright, because really what we try to do is harness the energy of the sun. Really, for our planet, there is really one source of energy, and that's the sun and what the sun can create. And what agriculture does and has done for about 12,000 years is to harness the energy of the sun so that humans can use it, whether it's as food, whether it's as fiber, or whether it's as fuel. That's essentially what we're trying to do, is figure out the best ways for us to do that and to balance that in ways that are good for people and good for the planet. The work that we do really did begin about 12,000 years ago, when you had the first domestication of animals and cultivation of plants. And a lot of people think that that was really the first revolution of agriculture, which it was, but they think that what was so important then was simply that we had domesticated animals and cultivated plants. But that really wasn't what was so revolutionary about that. What was revolutionary about that was that the beginnings of agriculture made it possible for us to have cities and towns. They started as villages, but the reason that people could start to come together and live collectively was because they were freed from having to create their own food source. And that was huge in terms of civilization, and one of many of the wonderful contributions that agriculture has made as we think about human beings. In the 17th century, then, another revolution began that was also part of agriculture that once again transformed our world. And that was the increased industrialization. This led to us being able to manufacture feed and agricultural products. Railroads made transportation possible across increasingly larger and wider spaces. And it changed production scale and location to the people who ultimately benefited. And then if we move forward a little bit forward into the 1930s, we see another really significant revolution. This one, someone who's come here from Iowa, you'll allow me to brag a little bit with this Iowan, Norman Borlaug, the father of the Green Revolution. But what was so important about that revolution was that it was actually a revolution of science. It was technology transfer. It was all about research, which dramatically increased yields and nearly seemed to defy the growing conditions such as poor soils or disease or limited water. And it generated our ability to produce abundantly and feed growing populations, particularly the poor. But it also meant that fewer people were needed to produce that abundance. And ultimately, there are consequences, particularly for the natural resources and the cost to productivity. And so that brings us to today. And now, at this turn of the millennium, we are living in the fourth major revolution of agriculture. And our college sits right on it. This one is digital. It's about precision agriculture. It's about artificial intelligence and drones. It's a recognition of the vast complexity of all of the living systems, and that yield is only one of the important outcomes that we're looking for. It really means that we have to think about how we balance. And in our college, what we focus on is how we balance three really key things: viable agricultural production, production, food security and safety, and environmental and ecosystem sustainability. Agriculture is essential to human survival, as is our work in environment and ecosystem sustainability. All of these things need to be working well for us all to be successful. In our college, we recognize that there's tremendous opportunities, but there's also tensions that exist within all this work we do. Whether the tensions exist within our disciplines, perspectives, constituents, or focus. Whether the tensions and opportunities lie with the rural and the urban, the production agriculture and environmental, or the differences in our applied, social, and basic science. So to say this is complex is likely the greatest understatement of our 150-year history, but it drives right at our reason for existence. As our comprehensive university has changed and evolved, the fundamental importance of our college and its disciplines remained. This work continues to be critical for Ohio and for our university to continue to be able to lead. Up here in Wooster, and here's a great shot, I think, of our Wooster campus, I've had a lot of people say, why have you started to call it CFAES Wooster? We've always known it as OARDC/ATI. And we did that for a very important reason. We have 12 stations, research stations, essentially throughout the state. And originally OARDC was one of them, one of our main hubs. And then of course we had ATI sitting next to it. But over time, OARDC-ATI has really become a campus in its own right, reflecting all of our missions and reflecting all the work that we do on our Columbus campus. And so we wanted to elevate from being seen as one of the research stations and ATI to being seen as a robust campus all by itself, but an important part of our college. It's not quite like the other regional campuses like Mansfield or Newark, in that it fully exists within our college and with our mission. But changing the name connects this campus with our shared resources, our infrastructure, and I think it gives it the level and prestige that it deserves within our larger OSU system. At ATI, we have the only associate degree granting academic unit within not only our college, but the university. We're enormously proud of ATI. Our faculty there, I think, really live our students first philosophy. They provide very high quality, hands-on educational experiences with the goal of preparing students to be ready to face the workforce. Throughout our college, we have some of the best student success metrics at the university. We award the most scholarships of any of the colleges at the university. Our students graduate with the highest rates, and we find that we retain our students far better than all the other colleges. I believe that's because of our people, our faculty and staff, much like the ones here at ATI, who I think go above and beyond so that our students can be successful while they're here and once they leave. We're very proud that ATI maintains a 99% job placement rate for all of its graduates. Throughout the entire college, we have a 92% job placement rate, meaning that when students walk out the door with a diploma, 92% of them already have a job or have been accepted to graduate school already as they leave. 73% of our students stay right here in the state of Ohio, and we're very proud of that as well. In the fall of 2020, ATI announced a new partnership with Kubota Tractor Corporation, and we are looking forward to doing more partnerships like that one, where when our students graduate, they not only have their associate's degree, but they're certified Kubota technicians, making them even more marketable as they head out into the workforce. In addition, Ohio State ATI is now among the first 20 colleges in the country to offer the Micro Works Foundation Work Ethics Certification. And many of the students who started ATI are also transferring to the Columbus campus to continue their education and finish up with a 4-year degree as well. This last year, it was no surprise to us when ATI was once again ranked as the best community college in the nation. We're pretty proud of that, and congratulations to Dr. Kress, our leader with ATI. Our research here at CFAES Wooster and throughout CFAES is dedicated to improving food, agriculture, and the environment. And within those fields, our scientists are making discoveries and collaborating with industry on a regular basis. It is amazing to me, this breadth of research that we have going on, whether it's our scientists who are working on mosquito-borne illnesses such as Zika and malaria, whether it's basic research to understand how specific genes affect traits that can benefit crops and animals, whether it's exploring the biodiversity of microbes, or whether it is identifying new bio-based products through engineering and developing ways for those to become patented inventions. It's just an incredible research enterprise that continues to have a tremendous impact on our state and on our country and the world. Our research portfolio includes more than 1,000 active projects, almost 200 capacity-funded projects, and over $50 million worth of competitive research grants that are brought in by our researchers. I'd like to just mention a few of the things that are done up here on our CFAES Wooster campus. One of them, of course, is our Center for Food Animal Health, and you see some of our faculty pictured here. But those interactions between animals and human systems and disease became even more obvious to us in this last year or so with COVID. And at our Center for Food Animal Health, we have global leaders in using One Health approaches to solving critical and emerging problems. And in fact, we have one of the nation's top scientists in the coronavirus in animals with Dr. Linda Saif. We're very proud that this work continues in terms of understanding ways that we can mitigate for the diseases that could have potential to impact humans, as well as both our swine and poultry industries in the state. We also have a number of very unique facilities up here in CFAES Wooster. I hope some of you have had the opportunity to come and visit our Cress Arboretum. If you haven't, I encourage you sometime to come and take a stroll through. It's a beautiful place, including the redwoods that are there. But you'll also see our plant and animal agro-security research facility. It's one of only 3 in the nation that is identified and classified as being a biosafety level 3 for both plants and animals, meaning that we can work with plant diseases and animal diseases within this biosecure facility. We also have the Molecular and Cellular Imaging Center. That houses equipment in all kinds of microscopy that allows our researchers throughout the college to be able to do just incredible work, especially in the area of genomics. And then just recently, and pictured here on the slide, you can see our new science building that's the home of our entomology department and those researchers, as well as classrooms for ATI and chemistry labs for ATI. And you'll want to come by because that's also the home of the Bug Zoo and quite a popular place for a number of our visitors. We also have extension and 4-H featured on our Wooster campus as well as statewide. I mentioned the work that they do with master gardeners. They do a lot of that training in Cress Arboretum. We have a lot of workshops on composting, particularly for industry professionals, on beekeeping and helping pollinators, and also topics such as growing wheat, growing hops, raising sheep and dairy production, organic farming, and sustainable agriculture. All of those are part of the extensions work here on CFAES Wooster as well. So at our college, we celebrate persistence, service, dedication, and those who reach out to build not just solutions, but relationships. We strive to advance industry, to advance science, to advance knowledge. But most importantly, and what we all keep firmly in our minds, is that we all try to advance people. We strive to address the challenges facing humanity in our world through discovery and research, through our educational efforts, through partnerships. But mostly what all of us at the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences do is that we sustain life through the persistent efforts of each one of our people. We hope you'll join us. Thank you. I'd be happy to take any questions or comments or anything if anyone has them.
A lot of people get worked up about something being non-GMO. A lot of other people say that's nonsense. GMO is the greatest thing we've ever had. What's your thought on that?
Okay, and your name?
Doug?
Hi, Doug. So GMO is a really interesting thing. It's genetically modified organisms, of course, and human beings have been genetically modifying organisms for over 12,000 years now. Anytime we've done any work at all with plants or with animals, we're essentially creating some modification. Of course, what got people's attention was when we started doing it in a way that allowed it to be much more efficient and precise, rather than the way that, say, Mendel might have done it with the slow process of actually crossbreeding and waiting to see what happens and everything. So I think when that happened, a lot of people got very concerned that maybe we were inserting something else in that genetic strand. But it's essentially a way that lets us to be far more precise and consistent with the changes. If we didn't have GMOs, it has significant impact for a lot of crops that diseases have impacted. So when you think about things like banana wasting disease, or you think about some of the diseases that have also impacted other fruits, if it hadn't been for GMOs, those crops would have been wiped out in those areas. So it has allowed for us to respond far more quickly. I think what's really at the heart of the miscommunication, though, is exactly that. I think that we have failed as a whole industry to help consumers understand the science, why we do it, and how it's made things possible for them. And so it can sound pretty scary to sound like people are messing around with the genetics. And I think that that's created mistrust that's misplaced. And it makes me really nervous to be talking about this when I've got Dr. Ann Dorrance sitting in the back of the room, who's a plant pathologist, and who's really the one who should answer those kinds of questions.
My name is Don.
Hi, Don. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean, for speaking today. Personally, on a personal note, my daughter is a senior at Chartway Local High School here, taking 3 college credit plus classes at ATI. She's really enjoying it. So
Wonderful. Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
We hope to keep creating more of those kinds of opportunities for College Credit Plus and certifications, so that as students are coming through junior high and high school, they can start kind of dipping their toe in what they might be interested in. So
yes, so thank you. Not only the Tri-Lake, but all the local high schools around the area. Great opportunity for seniors, juniors, finding out what they want to do a little bit at ATI. My question, though, is for your school, there's a lot of growth opportunity. It has been growing quite a bit. How does that affect your main campus at Columbus, but also here at Wooster? What kind of visions do you see growing for the school?
okay. Well, and the first first thing is, I appreciate that you caught yourself and changed it from main campus to Columbus. In our college, we don't actually refer to that as main campus. You heard me really carefully talking about our 3 campuses, Columbus, CFAES, Wooster, and statewide. And I don't just do that when I'm in Wooster. That's how we see our whole college. And so I do think it's important to mention that. You know, the opportunities really are continuing to grow for us. USDA did a study and found that there's about 65,000 high-tech careers in ag and the food system. But colleges like ours throughout the nation are only turning out about 35,000 graduates a year. So clearly, we need to ramp up and we need to do a better job. One of the issues we have, though, is it's not always clear to young people what the pathways are to get to us. Our Columbus campus is sometimes difficult to get onto. And so enrollment and recruitment is really important. And as this new president has come on board, you can bet I'm in there pitching different enrollment options for our college, because we really need to keep ramping up the number of students that we're able to serve. I think that, though, what I find is we're really good at what we call the secondary. And the secondary is there's a student who comes to campus, they decide they're going to major in something in arts and sciences. They get to campus, they have to take a gen ed class, and they decide to take one of their science classes from us because we have really interesting sounding classes. And so they come over, they take a class from us, and then they change their major and they want to be one of us. That's the secondary, and we're really good at it because we also just have phenomenal faculty. That's not a huge surprise to me, because things like Ann studies plant pathology, entomology, horticulture, these are not exactly things that roll off the tongue of 16 and 17-year-olds as they're thinking about what they want to do. And so what became clear to us is we've got to get much better at pathway programs. We've got to start leveraging 4-H more so that young people understand, if I just did 10 years of some project at 4-H that I loved, there's about 200 different careers that could go along with that, and I should be pursuing that. I think there's also this mythology that agriculture means I have to have inherited a lot of land or there's no career for me, or it means I have to put on bib overalls and, you know, go stand around with the cows or something. And while that's one tiny sliver of what our world is, we have not done the best job at creating pathways where young people understand there are all kinds of careers. You tell us what you want to do, and there are probably careers in agriculture that line up well with whatever it is, whether it's international trade, whether it's technology and artificial intelligence, whether it's working in a greenhouse, whether it's working with food. Those are all careers in our area. So the pathways, I think, are going to be important, but we need more people more than ever in our industries. So thank you for your question.
You can call me Frank.
Okay, Frank, thank you. Is that actually your name, or are you just letting me call you that?
It's a pseudonym. What do you see as the single largest challenge you have over the next 10 years?
Wow, the single largest, do you mean in terms of our disciplines, or do you mean at the college? I'd say the single largest challenge we have at the college is the misunderstandings of what it is that agriculture does, and the lack of understanding of the importance of agriculture to not just our survival as a species, but to how it drives our economy, quite frankly. I think there's a lot who look at, like when I came in here 5 years ago, I think there were a lot of people who thought our college had like peaked, right? You know, colleges like ours had peaked and now they weren't as important. That now is like the age of the College of Engineering or something like that. What I've tried to do for 5 years is remind people that this is the ultimate workplace, and everything else exists to support the work that we do in our college, because if we aren't successful, nobody's successful. And I think that that's gone pretty well in terms of people at Ohio State, once again, understanding the importance and what this college represents.
Good morning, Doctor. I'm Plain Dave.
Hi, Play Dave.
As one who's had a commercial interest in the Great Ohio State Fair for over 50 years, I'm been disappointed without the opportunity to participate in that way. And disappointed also for the millions of Ohioans that have missed that event, which along with some of the commercial events early before Birth Show and the Run Show and so on, is acknowledged to be one of the best in the country. And I'd be interested from your position with the Ohio Expositions Commission on how those decisions were made, which prevented us from having that great event, the Ohio State Fair, the last 2 years.
Yeah. What I will tell you is that, you know, the Expo Commission serves at the pleasure of the governor, and there's lots of complications around the fairgrounds and who owns the fairgrounds. So for the first year, there was no activity going on. And in fact, we didn't hold in our college our farm science review that year either, with the pandemic and the concerns about health and safety. This last year, we were able to, out at the Expo and the State Fair, hold the junior fair. And quite frankly, a lot of that was driven by the fact that most of the employees had been let go out at the Expo, and the ability to ramp up and provide a safe and healthy environment was something that was going to be pretty difficult to do given the short time frame of what was available to the Expo to be able to do. Certainly, we're gearing up to be back and in full force right now. The Quarter Horse Congress is going on and going well. And I think that bodes well for where we'll be. We also were able to be fully back at the Farm Science Review from our college's perspective, other than the Wednesday when the monsoons hit. But we were delighted to be back out there. That is the absolute intent of the Expo Commission, to have the fair back fully up and running. I did just want to make mention too, while I have the mic, I do see a couple of the Wayne County commissioners out there as well, and I just want to thank them. We greatly appreciate the support of Wayne County and the commissioners with us, and we're just delighted to have one of our homes be up here in Wooster County. So thank you all very, very much. In Wayne County, I'm sorry, but Wooster, but in Wayne County. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dean Kress, and thank you for your leadership in the college and for giving us some insights into the complexities of what we do and the importance of what we do. So in recognition of your visit with us today, we have our Rotary Club emblem with our 4-way test on the back, and these are made locally by the Village Network.
Oh, how nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks for the invitation.
Most of you know that I don't often wear ties, and you see I have the branded Ohio State tie today. And on my way in, Greg said, you know, I'm not going to be wearing ties next year. I don't know what you're doing today. So, well, my boss is speaking today, so I want to make sure that I'm looking professional. I know that there always has been a lot of confusion, at least in the community, about what is up there on the hill. And I often have gotten questions, oh, do you work for ATI or OARDC? And my response has always been yes. So it is a complex organization. And if you ever want to talk funding, I'd be happy to tell you about the funding, but there's about $250 million a year that come into the college through various sources. And it's a pretty complex organization. So I really appreciate Dean Kress coming and sharing with us today. So a couple of quick reminders. Next week, our program will be Justice Sharon Kennedy, and her speech will be the Rotary 4-way test and the founding of America. Also, just wanted to mention that in the coming weeks, there's going to be several service opportunities for us all, which you're going to be hearing more about. We'll have our final flag holiday coming up for Veterans Day. We'll have the Albion Wheat tournament coming up and the related food drive. We'll have the Salvation Army kettle campaigns kicking off in November. So lots of opportunities, and you'll be hearing from folks as we go through the coming weeks. Also, one last thing, don't forget, if you did not get a program from our 100th anniversary event or one of our wooden pieces, they are at the table in the back. And with that, we stand adjourned. Have a good week, Rotarians.